YouTube. I hope all y'all are having a blessed day. I am here with our next little project, and it is going to be something different. This is going to be a slow stitching project. I've recently become aware of slow stitching and I'm absolutely fascinated with it, and I absolutely love all the things that I'm seeing, and I am going to be making a slow stitch, kind of my own style, naive kind of landscape, and it's going to be a book cover for my new Bible, for my new study Bible. And here it is. So if you want to learn how to do some slow stitching and maybe do a landscape, maybe not, stick around. To begin this project, we have to know how big our Bible is. And my Bible opened up measures about 16.5, 17 inches. What I've done is I have added 4 inches on the left and on the right, extra. And the reason that I've done that is because I want the book cover to be able to fold over here and to make a pocket for the cover to slide into. And you also need to be concerned about how big or how much tugging is applied to the fabric when the Bible is closed and opened. So I measured it this way. I took my tape measure and I added 4 inches and I put it on the inside of the cover and I wrapped it all the way around, and then when I got to the other side I added 4 more inches for the back pocket. I have my piece of fabric 24 3/4, 25 inch, and that gives me plenty. If the pockets are a little bit deeper, that's fine. Now also I have marked right here where the cover is going to be, because that is where I want the focus of my cover. And again, you do not have to do this fancy landscape. You can just do patches and embroidery stitches and lace, just make a beautiful slow stitched cover. It does not have to be a scene. But of course, anytime I jump into something new, I jump in with both feet and I go overboard. So what I am doing is I'm, of course, making a scene, and this is a scene that's very special to me. I have the mountains with the 3 crosses, and then I have the more hills slowly flattening out and smoothing out, and then I have a church in the foreground. I was gifted this amazing fat quarter collection called Ruby Star Society Notion to Rise, and it's from 2018. It is 50 fat quarters, and as you can see, it's the entire rainbow. So I'm going to be using this for my mountains and for my sky. I have come up with some hand-dyed fabrics. This is a collection of hand-dyed fabrics from Mickey Lawler, and these are probably 25 or 30 years old, but there was one there that had all of these colors. So this is going to be my basic sunrise, and then the crosses will go on here. So while I'm doing this, you should be measuring your book or your Bible, and you want to have a 4-inch flap to make a pocket for the front cover and for the back cover. And you want to make sure that you have a window drawn out of where your cover is if you want to have a feature on the cover. You could also mark your spine and do something fancy with that. I have fabrics down, and by looking on the back, we can see that I am over on all the sides, which is good. I'm going to go sit up over on my other table. To start, I am going to do some basting stitches to hold this down so I can remove the pins, because Mama don't like pins. Just make as many basting stitches as you need so you can take your pins out and not get stabbed to death. I am going to get ready to use some threads to do some random stitching in the sky. I'm going to do swirly lines. Now I have a variegated here that I can use. These are wonderful pearl cottons, and they are size 8. I have a thimble silicone or rubber fingertip on my thumb and on my index finger, and I also have one of these leather thimble pads that sticks. I don't know if I want to use this or if I want to use a solid. I have a dark blue right here that kind of looks nice. So maybe we'll start with that. And I also have something over here that is called a needle minder. And I got this from Snuggly Monkey. It's a little pin, you know, like the old political pins that people would have. So it has a magnet glued on the bottom of this and another magnet here, and it will just stick to your project. And you can just drop your pins and your needle there, and you won't lose it, and you won't have to poke around and get stabbed to try and find it. I am going to pull about 30 inches off, and this is 6-stranded embroidery floss. I think that I'm going to try and separate them and use 3 strands at once. There we go. So I have 3 strands over here for later, and I'm just going to make a real simple knot. And I did go ahead and put some batting on this or under this and come up from the bottom. Now, slow stitching is just that. It's supposed to be enjoyable, and the stitches can be a little bit larger than normal, and the stitches are not supposed to be real large or real small. They don't have to be uniform. I'm just taking comfortable stitches, and we're going to do swervy lines so you don't have to go in a straight line. And the reason I don't have my backing fabric on yet is because I am going to trim this down when I've done all my stitching and I've completed the piece, and I am going to trim it down and then put the backing on top, face down on top of the book cover, and then I'm going to sew around, flip it inside out, and it can be stitched closed. I am just going to enjoy this process and continue to make all sorts of swirly little lines. And it's supposed to be meditative and enjoyable, and it goes pretty quick. And you can, of course, use complementary colors, contrasting colors, whichever you like. So what is slow stitching? Slow stitching is just an enjoyable process of sewing on a piece for the joy of the process. You don't have to worry about, oh, my stitches are not even. And right now, all I'm doing is a simple running stitch, but you can do the daisy stitch, you can do French knots, you can do blanket stitch, seed stitch, anything that you like, anything that you say, I think blanket stitch might look nice there. And there's no rules. And this is taking elements from Boro and Sashiko, Kawandi and Kantha. It is a non-rigid, Sashiko is rigid and exact as far as the patterns that they make, but the process of just enjoying the stitching, taking your time, that is the beauty of this. So now when you get to a point where it's too short to continue, you take your needle and wrap it around a few times, like when you're making a quilter's knot. There. So now that's knotted, it's not going to fall out, and we're going to be putting a backing on this anyway. So you can do all sorts of fun stitching. You can do the embroidery floss, you can do pearl cotton, you could sew with ribbon, you can couch ribbon down, and you can cut out the excess fabric back here. If your hands are arthritic, you can save yourself some grief by cutting all the background fabric out. So you're marking a line down here like this behind this mountain, so you can cut the blue out. On some of this I did do that. So I wanted to come back and show you that I have done a little spiral, and it's not a perfect circle, it's just loose, and I can show you how to do it. I can do one here. So I'm just going to be starting in the outside, and I'm slowly making a curve, and it can be freehand. It does not need to be precise. If you enjoy just doing it freehand, then that's the way you do it. See, so you're just gonna spiral inward until there's no more room, and I think this will be the last line, so I'm going to go right in between these last two rows of stitches, go through the back and tie it off. That is how you can do some spirals. I'll come back when I have the sky finished. My husband came in and said, why don't I use the sewing machine to do this? And I said, because the whole point of the project is to do it by hand. Enjoy feeling the fabric and the thread in your hands and watching the patterns emerge on the fabric. I just love the feeling of the fabric with the stitches in it. I am going to pick a green. I've got this one. I think I'm going with that one. So I've started on my mountains, and I wanted to come back and just give you a couple more tips. You don't want to pull real hard on your stitches because you don't want it to shrink up too much. I am going to continue on, and I will come back in a little bit. I just wanted to pop in and give you a quick update. I'm really pleased with how it's looking. I'm not doing any kind of fancy stitches. I'm just doing the running stitches. I have done all of the straight running stitches on here except for up here.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy.